Okay, so now we will start with VIII, which will be the elections, and at this point I will get off.
Thank you, Gabriel. Yes, Joseph?
Joseph, President, since you are starting the elections, I'm passing the chair to Sylvia.
Thank you so much. So we will move on to the 8th session of the GA, which will mean the first round of elections for the executive. What would that mean? I would like to have like a recap of what will happen next. So we will have the candidates. Each candidate will have a 3-minute speech. Then we will move on to the speeches of the proposer and the seconder. The proposer stands up, says his speech for 1 minute only, and then the seconder comes up in 1 minute. Then we can move on to the questions. After all the questions are terminated, we can move on to the internal discussions. In the internal discussions, phones, laptops, including the recordings that we have, will be turned off. The candidate will leave the room with someone else so that they cannot hear the internal discussions. And also no one gets in and no one will get out of the room to keep the internal discussion proper. We will also have, since for a position we also receive 2 nomination forms, 2 candidates. What will happen then? So the candidates will be presented in the same order that they have submitted the nomination form. They will have, for the first candidate will go on, have their 3-minute speech, then proposers and seconder for 1 minute. Then we move on to the second candidate, still 3-minute their speech, and then 1 minute proposer, 1 minute seconder. Then we move on to the discussion. We open the floor for discussion for questions. The questions for both candidates, so you must formulate your question in order that the 2 candidates can answer them. You cannot make direct questions for 1 candidate only. They should be for both. What is also important is that, well, we will have order. For example, the first candidate that has submitted the first nomination will go first, and then the second to respond to the question. For the second question, we will turn it around. Also, I'll have a bit of explanation of the speaking order. So I'll be listening to what you are saying, and like the chairperson of this session, Javier and Malvina here will help me out with the speaking order. So there will be many new points. Please make sure with them that they can see you having your point, new point, direct clarification. They can see you and they can have like a nod, or that they can approve that you've been put to the speaking order. Like, please don't clarify with me. I may not see you, I may not be focused, but please have it with them so we can have a really throughout speaking order and be it not appropriate, but that in time with what is the situation in the room. Of course, yes. So after the speaking order, when the questions will be before we will move on to the internal discussion. After the candidate will also, before the candidate will leave the room, he will have a 1-minute closing speech. That being said, I think we can move on. Then I'll have to ask the executive to leave their table, except for Marlene, who will be minuting and being part of the meeting secretaries. In the meantime, can you check if you have good internet connection? For the Vivo Vote 6. In the meantime. Yes? All right then. Then we can proceed to the elections, and we are taking the election of the president. PC has received one application, which is from Gabriel Branco. This is proposed by APEV Portugal and seconded by PPSA Poland. So I would like to ask Gabriel to come to the front and present his 3-minute speech. Gabriel, you may go.
Gabriel, President Candidate. Dear General Assembly, EPSA is at a crossroads. I don't have to mention how big of a toll COVID-19 took on us, because it's clear by the fact that we're here in an EPSA General Assembly that's not happening during an EPSA event. However, I would like to emphasize that as this world crisis is hopefully at least coming to an end, we need to decide on which direction we want to take. We can let the 2 years we just had of forcefully reduced activity set our pace for the future, or we can take the learned lessons that we have and take them and use them in our advantage in order to improve for the future. I'm standing here as EPSA candidate for president because I would like for you to trust me to lead the EPSA team into the second round. As you saw in my nomination form, I would like to liaise with the VPIA in order to adapt the LS survey and to include questions and to send it to you as soon as possible so that we can have your input and take it into consideration while we are defining the priorities for the next mandate. In my opinion, the EPSA restructure presented in working statement 2 in the 61st EPSA General Assembly was a great first step. However, we need to reflect more and harder on the needs of the pharmaceutical students of Europe and how EPSA can cater to them. Many challenges lie ahead of us, some that we're aware of, some that will appear as we go. But I believe that if we lay a strong foundation from the beginning, we'll be ready. Those challenges can be overcome, and we can lead the 45th year of EPSA's history into a great one. Thank you so much for considering my application, and I'm available to answer any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Now I would like to propose her to stand up and present his 1-minute speech. Their 1-minute speech.
Josué, APEV Portugal. During the current mandate, Gabriel exceeded any expectations that APEV has put on him while proposing his application last year. He has shown the commitment he's willing to give to EPSA and the knowledge he can acquire and is fully into it. As a parliamentarian, he not only had the opportunity to get to know EPSA regulations to their fullest, but he also had the chance to have a great overview of how EPSA works and should work. He now understands EPSA to its core and is willing to move forward and take on new responsibilities. Gabriel envisions EPSA acting as a whole and aims to put together all the team efforts through a single path, the EPSA mission success. He has improvements planned for every single EPSA's area of intervention, being this one of the main reasons why we are proposing him, because we do believe that he has the right qualities to be successfully leading this team towards its objective success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, APEV. Next we have seconder speech, which I would like to please stand up.
Michał PPSA Poland. PPSA is honored to second Gabriel Branco as candidate for the EPSA president. During his mandate as parliamentarian, Gabriel has had a deep motivation for being part of the EPSA. While being present at online executive meeting every week, he was able to gain the necessary experience for his future position. We also admire his engagement as an EPSA intern. Being present in Brussels, he was able to interact with stakeholders, take care of the EPSA house, and contribute to the administrative work as well. The tasks that he proposes are well structured and thought through. His extensive knowledge on the works of EPSA definitely shines through this application that tackles all current challenges EPSA faces and takes into consideration the working statements and strategic plan, ensuring a continuous development of the association. Taking into consideration all the experience that Gabriel has, his motivation and dedication, we are completely convinced that he will be a perfect fit for this position. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, I open the floor for discussion. First, we have Annette France.
François de France. How would you see EPSA at the end of your mandate compared to now?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, President Candidate. Well, hopefully 1 year from now, I would see EPSA very happy with the work me and my team would do. But I would definitely see EPSA as more focused on students' needs, and I would like to see our events as bigger, and I would like to see innovation. In a year, I would like to look back and see that we did stuff that has not been done before, and that students appreciate.
Thank you. Next on the speaking list, Henry.
Joseph Hippies with Dynamics. Since there are still a lot of candidates missing, or there's still missing a lot of candidates for positions, do you think this will get filled? And if not, what would be the best thing to do?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, President, I do believe they will get filled, and I intend to help PR with the promotion if necessary. I actually have videos that I've already done to help with the promotion, and I will also remain available to help prepare anyone that requests my help.
Just a small note, your position is candidate for president and not president. Next on the speaking list, we have Perk Spain.
Today, Perk Spain. In your application, you mentioned that there is still room for improvement in advocacy planning and long-term advocacy planning. I would like to ask you if you did already have designed a plan or any strategy to tackle it. Thank you.
Gabriel.
Gabriel, President Candidate. Thank you for your question. I have not designed a strategy. However, EPSA is working on their advocacy strategy now, and depending on the budget that we have to follow, we will continue our collaboration with our consultancy, and I intend to take the most out of the consultancy help. We still have this mandate. During our last meeting, we will have a handover meeting where we will have our consultant present, and I wish to work with the current VPA president and anyone else that's involved in advocacy and the future ones in order to determine the strategy for the next mandate.
Thank you. Next, Casper.
Andrei, Casper, Romania. Congratulations, Gabriel, on your application. I wanted to ask you if you could do a quick SWOT analysis on the next potential president mandate that you could take.
I would also like to inform the official delegates that the candidate has only 1 minute to present his response. So, if you are comfortable with him doing a SWOT analysis in 1 minute. Gabriel?
Gabriel, President Candidate, I will say just one for each maybe. I would say strength would be my motivation, a weakness maybe my not so long time at EPSA. An opportunity would be the new projects we are implementing, such as the hackathon, for example, that hasn't been done before, and the threat, the number of positions that still have no applicant for.
Thank you, Gabriel. Next, we have CPSA.
Hannah, CPSA Croatia. First of all, thank you for your application. I wanted to know if you have any plans addressing the resignations, since there were 2 resignations in this mandate, and if I'm not mistaken, the year before that, there were also some resignations. Thank you.
Gabriel, President Candidate, thank you for your question. This year I was facilitating all the discussions that led to the resignation, so I was able to follow closely the discussions and how they were held. And I do intend to take that knowledge, and if I see someone struggling or that whose work is not being satisfactory and needs to have a conversation about it, I hope that this past knowledge will handle the situation as best that I can.
Thank you. Following up, we have Asif.
Yes, as a Switzerland. So in your application, you talk about the
Microphone close to your mouth and speak louder, please.
Jasmine as a Switzerland. In your application, you talk about changing EPSA's logo and the official colors. Yeah, so isn't it a risk to change the visual identity of EPSA? And do you want to modernize the logo or do you want to completely change it?
Gabriel?
Gabriel, President candidate, thank you for your question. First of all, I wouldn't call it an intention, it's more of a suggestion. I would like to discuss this with the future PR department mainly, but also with members and alumni. But I would indeed like to see it being modernized, and I think that the fact that we are having an anniversary event could be a great opportunity to do that. We're coming out of a cycle and entering a new one, and the 45th anniversary would be a great opportunity to launch a new EPSA image.
Thank you. Next we have Anek.
Théo de France. Do you think that the president itself should be more involved in EPSA advocacy?
Gabriel, President candidate. I'm not completely aware of how much the president is currently involved in EPSA advocacy, but I do think that the president should have a major role in it and help the VPEA in all of their duties.
Thank you. Next, SFD Lithuania.
Leonidas Lithuania. Our question would be whether and how do you intend to increase the activity of member associations that are currently declining in activity or barely active?
Gabriel, President candidate, thank you for your question. This is something that I would love to discuss with the VPIA, and actually the internal affairs department. The events coordinator also has a lot of communication with members. But I would like to start right now. When we launch the LS survey, hopefully, if someone doesn't reply, reach out to them to understand what their needs are. And I think that encouraging VPMFs, visiting member funds, is also a really good idea. I would like to take the EPSA presentation so that when we present it to partners, it's not the same as when we present it to members. And I think that when we present it to members, definitely this kind of opportunities like the visiting members fund or the train and travel fund is something that we have to present so that they know the ways that they have to get EPSA closer to them.
And we have EPSA International.
EPSA in Turkey. What was the struggles of being president as you observed this mandate, and how would you solve them?
Gabriel, President candidate, thank you for your question. I think the biggest struggle is probably the workload, and the way I would solve it is I'm intending to dedicate my year to EPSA. I'm not intending to start working or do an internship or anything. If I do an internship, I want it to be an EPSA internship in the EPSA house so that I can devote myself to EPSA.
Next, we have Maeva, the coordinator, which will present some questions from the alumni.
Yes, thank you. I will now ask one question from Patrick Donjoli and EPSA alumnus. We received 21 applications in total for 16 EPSA team positions, of which 7 applications for 6 executive positions, while the EPSA team consists out of 27 positions. Ideally, every position, or at least the executive position, have 2 candidates or more, so the General Assembly has an actual choice to ensure that the best people get elected for the EPSA team. How will you motivate the upcoming EPSA team to ensure that more people will run for another mandate to make sure that there is consistent transition of knowledge and experience in the EPSA teams after your mandate? Thank you.
Gabriel, President candidate, thank you for your question, Patrick. hope you're seeing it. Okay, thanks. I would like to, during the mandate, make sure that being in the EPSA team is an enjoyable experience for the team, to lead the team in a way that our projects become successful, so that they are motivated, but also make sure that there are times for bonding, so that EPSA is also fun for them. And that's how I would motivate the team for applying, but I also think it's important to motivate other students, and the fact that in this GA there's going to be a motion proposed to review the election procedures to see how it can be more welcoming to the people, at least the people that are more involved in EPSA. I think that's a really good opportunity as well.
Thank you. Next question is from Joseph. President.
Thank you. Joseph, President 2021-2022. I have a question to you. During your mandate, you will encounter a tension or conflict between two or more executive members. How would you solve it?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, the president candidate, thank you for your question, Yosef. I believe that unless the VPIA is one of those executive members, I would first talk to them to align a strategy, and I would talk to each person individually to see how the issue between them could best be solved. And taking into consideration what I gathered from them, then I would approach each of them with solutions for certain problems, and try to tackle this issue as soon as possible, to be very involved in the team so that I wouldn't understand that this was an issue too late.
Thank you. Next we have a new point from Pastor.
Andrei, Pastor Romania. I wanted to ask you, in your application you mentioned that you wanted to change the way the subcommittees work. I wanted to ask you, how would you do that?
Gabriel?
Gabriel, President Candidate, thank you for your question. This is actually something I've also talked to some members of the PR department, and this is some of the feedback I got from them. I would like to change it so that, for example, the design coordinator is coordinating the design subcommittee members, so that they have that option. But I would also like to reach out to the subcommittee members to make sure that they know that they're part of the team as well. I want to know their names, I want to talk to them, and I want to thank them for all they do, because it's really important for EPSA.
Thank you. Next, KMPSB.
Jason can be sweet on that. We think it's for the most important to really show the new generation of students what EPSA is all about, since most of the restrictions are hopefully a thing of the past. Do you have concrete examples on how EPSA should proceed to make students more engaged?
Gabriel?
Gabriel, President Candidate, thank you for your question. I think that just the fact that we will have more live events will help with this, and I believe that we should try to make sure that our projects and activities are as engaging as possible, and that they give students a way to speak, a means to speak and to promote their work, and to connect with the EPSA team or the ODs, so that they can learn from us and from them, and be excited to participate in the work we do.
Thank you. Next, CPSA.
CPSA Croatia, so you mentioned that you would like to get some more input from MOs about generally the state of EPSA and everything. So I would like you to perhaps clarify a bit more if there is something specific you want to put the emphasis on, and what exactly you would be searching for in those inputs. Thank you.
Gabriel?
Gabriel, President Candidate, thank you for your question. Yes, as I mentioned, I would like to start doing this right now in the handover period, to talk to the VPIA so that we can adapt together the survey that we send out to all LSs, to get your input as fast as possible, and with your input, have meetings with the team, first with my VPs, then with their departments, and if needed with individual coordinators, so that they can prepare their plans of action in the beginning of the year with your inputs in mind already.
Thank you. Next question from Eva.
Maybe coordinator. In your application, you mentioned that you would like to be an EPSA intern this year, to be able to commit fully again. What if you are not able to become an intern because if hopefully most of the team apply and then they all get the spots? What will be your backup plan?
Technical from Aline.
Alina, meeting secretary, I guess. Is this a question for you as alumni coordinator? Okay.
Gabriel?
Can you repeat now? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Mail coordinator, you want to become an EPSA intern again. What if all the spots are taken by other people from the team that applied for those internships? How do you tackle that?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, President candidate, thank you for your question. If I do not get an EPSA internship, then I will stay home, but available. I will still not be working, and I will remain available for EPSA and to travel at any time to any destination when it's needed for an external representation event or an internal team meeting or.
Thank you. Then EPSA International.
Several EPSA International Turkey. If there is an EPSA team member who loses their motivational perk, how would you handle this situation? Thank you.
Gabriel.
Gabriel, President, thank you for your question. First, I will try my best so that that does not happen, but obviously that's always going to happen, and there are periods with less motivation overall in the team. So my strategy will be when I see that a period like that is coming or that someone is feeling that way, if it's just one person, to talk to them, reach out to them individually or with their VP, and if it's a general motivation period, I would like to organize something fun with the team so that they come back together. A team building activity during one of the team meetings, something online if we still have a long time to go to the next team meeting. I would think something about this one.
Thank you so much. With this, I have concluded the speaking order. I'll remind you that the floor is also open for comments or questions. And also, I will kindly ask the General Assembly to consider whether you are ready for internal discussion or not. Also, a small reminder, you can make use of the procedural motion, or if you are more at ease to proceed to the internal discussion, you can show emotion cards in order to I see mostly people are ready to go to internal discussion. Then I would like to ask Gabriel to say his final speech. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Gabriel, President candidate. First of all, I would like to thank you all for your questions. And before we move on to internal discussion and have you here to discuss, I would just like to leave you with something that a past president told me when I was preparing for this election. If someone lacks knowledge, they can always acquire it. You can give them the means to get it. But motivation is not read in any guideline. And although I know my journey in EPSA is not the longest, I have motivation to spare. I have loved EPSA ever since I was in my first GA, even if it was online, and I've loved it even now when it became stressful. And I will continue to love it, and I will continue motivating it. And if you elect me, I will make sure to work every day so that my team is just as motivated as I am. Thank you so much.